Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, I want to talk about why Kratom is a drug, or could be seen as a drug, or, you know, has all of the makings of a drug. Um, First, I want to start off with a little bit of background. Um, I was heavily addicted to Kratom for a very long time. I mean, I was using probably about 300 to 500 grams of it a week, give or take. Um, I was taking, and at first it started out with the pills. Then I started trying those little shots for a while. This was like 4 years ago. And then I started just pouring powder and water because it was cheaper. And so for me, when I would take it, it would make me feel like I was on, some sort of opiates. Like the thing I related it to most was like painkillers, right? And I had a very strong admiration for painkillers. I was taking it for a long time. When I say 3, 4 years ago, that was about when I stopped because that was when I got back into like the harder drugs. But before that, I had been taking it since like 2014, I believe. So about 7 years. And it became so, it was straight up an addiction, right? It was an everyday, all day thing where no matter what I was doing, freedom had to be present. I wouldn't feel okay if it wasn't. In fact, I actually would go through withdrawals. In my opinion, a very lower level form of them compared to like the fentanyl withdrawals and stuff. But there were withdrawals, and the effects that they would have were in the same vein as you would get from opiates or fentanyl. And we'll talk now a little bit about the makeup of it. So the main compound that's found in kratom is called mitragynine, and then 7 hydroxymitragynine, uh, which interacts with the opioid receptors in the brain. And at lower doses, people say it causes like stimulating effects. Higher doses, it can be sedative. I know this to be true. In fact, the reason I even started liking to take kratom was because it gave me those stimulating effects that painkillers give to me and opiates tend to give to me. Um, and Very similarly to other drugs that act on the opioid receptors, kratom most definitely is habit forming. I know this to be true also because I formed a very serious habit. Even, when I was living in a hotel and living very much week to week, I was finding ways to get it. I actually was buying it online in bulk packages. I would buy like once a month. I would buy like $200 worth of it, and you'd get quite a bit back then. Um, but you most definitely do end up withdrawing when you stop using it. I will say this too. From all the research I've done, right, there are things that I can see kratom is being useful for, right? So, I feel like it's probably a healthier alternative if you are in pain, like in somebody who like has chronic pain, right? I see this as a possible like better substitute than taking like opioid painkillers. I believe it helps like increase your white blood cell count. There's like cardiac stuff that it can help with. And really, I haven't read about much of the positive effects of it for a really long time. I think part of that is because I don't want to find reasons that I might think it's okay to start taking it again, because I don't think that it's okay for me to take that. I do think it's a drug. Um, and let's talk about like what it does. So if you were to take like a very small amount, like a half a gram or something, like one capsule, maybe two, I doubt that you would notice anything too crazy or You'll probably do feel the enhancement of mood. You'll probably feel slightly euphoric, but I don't think it's going to drop you like a bomb like it can at much higher doses. Now, at higher doses, it is very similar to, like, uncannily similar to opiates, like how opiates make me feel. Almost exactly the same, just on a lesser scale. It's not as powerful, but I mean, the problem is now, right? And I feel like we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for the human effect on everything. And what I mean by the human effect is the tendency of people to abuse something and try and find ways to make it as powerful as possible, right? Like with weed and extracts of weed and wax and stuff like that. Naturally, the next step in progression for Kratom, once it started becoming more and more mainstream, is that people would start making extracted versions of it, which makes the method of administering far more easier, right? Because you're taking something that needs this much powder to reach the desired effect and condensing it essentially into these 75 times potent freaking capsules, or like the little shots and stuff that are like this big. It just takes a little back swig to take it. That made the ease of access a lot more, I guess, accessible. When you're able to, you know, take the amount of a compound that gets you high that you would need to eat this much material for, you can do it in this much. Um, the potential for abuse skyrockets, right? And that's exactly what's happening. There are instances of people who have overdosed on these like 7-0. So this brand, this 7-OH, right? This is essentially like the main compound that you get from kratom. Um, and typically in powder, you get anywhere from about 1 to 2% of this compound in powder. So if you're eating just regular powder capsules, that's how much you're getting for the amount of powder. If you're eating a gram, right, of kratom, you're getting anywhere from zero point 0.1 or 1%, 1 to 2% of that is, let's weigh it out. Let's do the math. How much is 1 of a gram? You're getting 1 milligram of this. Well, these capsules, right? These 7-OH capsules that people are making, they're up to 16 milligrams, right? So, and that's just this one I'm looking at. Um, I know that there's far stronger, um, far stronger products that they make, and um, I've tried not this brand, but extracts in the past, and I'm telling you, man, like it's just like if you take one of these extracted pills, it's like taking, I mean, if you ask me, like 3 Vicodin, right? What we all know about anything that has mind altering qualities to it, right, is it can be labeled as a drug, and it very much can be abused like a drug. Um, in some cases, I feel like kratom has far stronger potency and effects than weed does, right? I feel like you could become just as or more impaired very easily by taking some of this kratom or kratom extracts than you could with weed. I know that I've taken so much kratom in the past that I have gotten the nods where like I'm literally doing this shit, um, and makes me afraid to ever take it again, and I won't, because I feel like that would be a gateway into getting back into using opiates, right? Um, the I've been wanting to make a video talking about this for a minute. I just haven't gotten around to it. My video I posted the other day about a day in the life of a working fentanyl addict. I had somebody comment saying that they thought they'd finally kicked everything, but they've gotten addicted to the 7-OH Kratom capsules. And I figured, yeah, I guess this would be a good time to make this video. So the other thing is like, let's talk about um, the health risks, right? So there are adverse health effects that can happen. I've felt the nausea. The sweating, itching, constipation's a big one. I've never had a seizure due to it, but I do see how that could potentially happen. And liver damage, of course, because that's what's filtering all this stuff. And especially if you're taking a lot of the powder, right? That stuff has to get filtered through your body. Research published in the journal Drug and Alcohol Dependence confirms these psychoactive effects, showing that kratom's active compounds produce both stimulant and opioid-like effects depending on the dose. We'll talk a little bit about the DEA and what. So at one point back in 2016, the DEA was attempting to classify kratom as a Schedule One drug in the same class as like heroin, LSD, and that's due to its potential for abuse and dependence, right? Um, that ended up being delayed, and there was public and scientific like backlash on that happening. Um, but the DEA's stance is that the risks that kratom poses are very similar to other controlled substances, right? And I'm not somebody who like just listens at what the government says, and like in fact, I'm very much the opposite of that. I don't really trust the motherfuckers. Um, the FDA issued multiple warnings about kratom, stating that it affects the same, opioid brain receptors as morphine does, and um, obviously that and the properties of the chemical and what it does to people, it exposes people to risks of addiction, abuse, and dependence. Um, there have been deaths associated with kratom use. Usually it has to do with something being combined with it, other substances. Um, but there have been people who have died from taking kratom. Um, and it's actually more and more. So this study from the CDC found that kratom was a cause of death in nearly 100 people over a 17-month period. And that's a lot higher than previously reported. 152 people were found to have kratom in their system, and the drug was a cause of death for 91 of them. Um, so yeah, and I know that there's so many other things out there that could kill you, but it is still worth considering. And if you don't think that it has all the properties of a drug, then I think that this might be a little bit of denial. I feel like the only people who would combat me on this are probably people who use it and don't want to be classified as a drug, or maybe they don't want to think that they're using a drug. But everything that, you know, all the research that accompanies kratom, it is a drug. Um, So studies published in the Journal of Addiction Medicine and other peer-reviewed journals have documented cases of kratom dependence. Users who consume kratom regularly or in high doses have reported withdrawal symptoms like those associated with opioids, including anxiety, irritability, sweating, cravings, cramps, and body aches. Um, a study conducted in Malaysia found that long-term kratom users experience severe withdrawal symptoms upon cessation. Um, and that is like one of the main, like, main ways a drug is classified. If you can develop a dependence on it that causes you to go through withdrawals without it, like, it's pretty safe to say. It's not banned in too many places, right? There's only 6 states in the United States that have banned it. There's Alabama, Arkansas, Indiana, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wisconsin. And there's maybe about 10 countries who have banned it, but it's still pretty widely legal. Let's see. So, scientific literature and case studies have documented adverse um, effects of kratom's use, such as nausea, vomiting, and constipation, which is, you know, goes hand in hand with opioid use. And when in high doses, just like other stimulants can do, there is the potential for psychosis of some sorts. And just like with other downers and stuff and opiates, there is the chance for respiratory depression. Um, and this is extremely heightened when it's combined with other drugs or like alcohol and stuff. Um, let's see. The Journal of Medical Toxicology reported several cases where kratom use led to severe adverse effects, reinforcing its potential as a harmful drug when abused. So let's talk about the withdrawal symptoms, the meat and potatoes, right? Physical symptoms, are as follows: muscle aches and pains, uh, nausea and vomiting, sweating and the chills, runny nose, watery eyes, tremors, and muscle spasms. What does that sound like? It sounds exactly like most typical opioid withdrawals symptoms that you would go through. Um, Psychological symptoms include anxiety and irritability, depression, cravings, insomnia, and sleep deprivation. And then the duration of withdrawal symptoms. So, um, the early symptoms, symptoms that start within 1 to 3 days are like restlessness, anxiety, muscle aches, sweating usually begins within 12 to 24 hours of the last dose. Your peak symptoms, which lasts anywhere from 3 to 7 days, which is a long fucking time. I mean, that's just like any other withdrawals that you would go through. Include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, intense cravings, and insomnia. This typically peaks around 3 days and may last up to a week. And so lingering symptoms that last up to 2 weeks or more are like depression, anxiety, mood swings, and these can last much longer than that after your physical symptoms have gone. And so some factors influencing withdrawal severity are dosage, higher doses of kratom or using potent strains, um, especially like the 7-OH tablets, tend to lead to more severe withdrawal symptoms, obviously, because more of the compound is being taken. How long you've been using, like if you've been using consistently for months, years, whatever, and um, if you're combining kratom with other substances, which a lot of people do, kratom is almost like a supplement. People supplement what else they do with it. I was one of those people. How people deal with kratom withdrawals? I do know that there are a few specialized kratom treatments that are out there, but tapering is a very common method, which has to be done with like weighing your shit out and scaling it. You can't just eyeball it. You have to be mathematical about that. I've never done it because I don't think I'm capable. If I were to suggest any method, if you are planning on trying to stop kratom, I would go with medical support. Contacting a medical professional who may provide medications to manage symptoms, such as clonidine for anxiety, nausea medications, or sleep aids. This is when I went through my fentanyl withdrawals. I had to go to the hospital. It wasn't going to be possible unless I did. Um, let's see. Behavioral therapy. So, we all know that. And then, hydration and nutrition. So all the same shit that you get with withdrawals from other drugs, basically. Just like any other drug you withdraw from. Um, and A study conducted in Malaysia where kratom use is more prevalent showed that users who stopped taking kratom experienced severe withdrawal symptoms, including insomnia, mood swings, body aches, indicating kratom potential for dependence and withdrawal effects. I guess I was wrong. You probably, just like you would do with any other treatment or like going to treatment for anything else, that's what you would have to seek out if you were seeking professional help on battling kratom dependence, you would need to seek out professional help. But yeah, I know that just like with all of my videos, there's no real fucking rhyme or reason. Rhyme was reason. Um, and there's no like, I don't follow a script. I don't fucking do things. Maybe I should. I should probably start laying out my videos. I probably do a lot better. But I try to just be as transparent as possible. I don't want it to seem like I'm, trying to be something or someone I'm not. I'm very much a spontaneous guy. And I hope that there was some useful information in here and that maybe I was able to teach somebody something about Kratom. It's something I know very well. And something I spent a very long time doing. I've probably eaten far more than my body weight in Kratom in my lifetime. Like probably like 10 times my body weight. But yeah, in my humble opinion, I am completely convinced in my eyes that Kratom is indeed a drug. Um, and if that's not something that you're ready to believe or that you want to believe, that is entirely your prerogative. But if you ask me, and most people out there who know anything about drugs, anything about Kratom, they basically go hand in hand. Um, there's this like thing where a lot of people think that because you can buy it in a store, and this is with anything, because you can buy it in a store or a gas station, that it's not dangerous or it's not a drug. Some of those things are even more dangerous. I'm actually going to make a video because I was thinking about this while I was making this one. Um, Maybe tomorrow, the next day, I'm going to talk about this time that I got what ended up being fake acid from a smoke shop and ended up well, I'm not going to ruin it, but this is just one example of the many dangers of just buying everything, anything that you think will get you high from the smoke shop. Because if you think it'll get you high, it fucking, in a lot of cases, will. And it also, in a lot of cases, will not do it the way you want it to, and is very fucking dangerous usually. Um, and trust me, the story that I will tell, maybe I'll just tell it tomorrow, will be more than enough evidence of that. But again, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you found something useful in this. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys soon. See you tomorrow. Bye.